Good morning, you guys. It's day number 42 of my Staybatical to 50. Yes, I'm still a crazy man out here doing this 100-day journey, transforming my body, my mind, and pretty much whatever else will happen. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm out on my morning walk. It's finally feeling a little bit like fall because it's consistently being low 60s when I get out here, which is glorious. I love this. I did notice that next week we're going to start getting into the upper 40s as the morning temperature. So that's going to be a lot of fun for me. I love the cold weather. I embrace it. And so cannot wait for those things. But come on in, guys. Day number 42 of this Staybatical to 50. Still chugging along, still doing all the things, and I really enjoy my time I get to spend with you guys, so thank you for being here. I wanted to bring up a topic here today that actually came out of yesterday's topic. Yesterday I asked the question, what exactly is holding you back? And I was surprised when I saw so many people say fear, and some of them were non-descriptive of what that meant. And I kept asking the question, what are you afraid of? What are the things that have you scared about starting a journey? To me, that seemed a little odd. I mean, I get it. Specific fears will arise from time to time. But on an overall journey, fear really prevents you from doing it at all. So I want to piggyback on that topic from yesterday by talking about facing and not freaking over your fears. And I think we need to start with, fear is very natural. I don't want to make you feel like you're being shamed for having fear. We all have fears. We all have hesitations. We all have those things in the back of our mind that tell us, are you sure? Like that's your body's way of trying to protect you. For the most part, that's what a lot of people have that kick in for. But other people, they fear everything. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? And they just kind of fear themselves into being paralyzed. And when you are paralyzed, you can't move. And that's what I feel like fear does when you freak out over the what if. And I know you know what I'm talking about. If you have this plan for your life, that you want to go on a health journey, for example, like what I'm doing now, and you think of all the potential bad things that could happen, what do you expect your brain to do? It's going to be freaked out. It's going to be scared. If we have learned nothing from the last 2 years of everything that's happened in the world, we know that fear sells. Fear gets people to do things that but for the fear they would not do. So we do that on an individual level as well. We allow our brains to be the propaganda machines to make us fearful. And fear in and of itself actually can't do anything to you. It can do you no harm. We allow the fear to do us harm because not only do we think the fear, we believe the fear. And that's where we get into trouble, you guys. We start believing all these things that we're afraid of. And when you are afraid, you can make irrational decisions. You allow those things to already be true, even though they're not true at all. Most of the fears you have never come to pass, simply aren't a reality, but you believe them as if they're 100% verifiable truths. You've done that, haven't you? And again, not shaming you for that, just explaining that when you have fear, that doesn't mean don't. That doesn't mean freak out if you've got a higher purpose in mind. And you guys know here on day 42 of my Staybatical to 50, I've got a huge higher purpose in mind with what I'm doing. And ain't no fear gonna stop me from accomplishing what I want to accomplish. But a lot of people do. They stop right at that point where their brain tells them, ouch, this hurts, or ouch, this could potentially hurt. I feel like people use fear as a crutch. I'm gonna give you some tough love today, guys. When you say, I can't start a journey to change my life because I'm too scared, I'm fearful, you fill in the blank. You're using that as a reason, and I would argue in most cases, not a good reason to just not do anything. Oh, well, what if this, what if that? You don't know, Jimmy. I could injure myself. Oh, and I can't do that right now. Oh, Jimmy, it's going to be too hard, and it's not really going to give me the results I want, so nope, too scared of that, not even going to try. Stop that. If that's you, stop that. You're the person that today's message is for. I don't want you to freak out over these fears you have allowed to creep into your mind. I want you to do something that is revolutionary, that bucks the trend, and that actually is the key to your success that you so desperately want. You want to hear what it is? I want you to face your fears. Yes, I know what I'm saying. Face your fears. Put it to the test. Allow yourself to run that risk that the fears will manifest and be true. And even if they do, guys, that doesn't mean you can't overcome it. So here's what facing your fears does. Number one, it takes away that excuse of, well, I can't because I'm freaking about the fear and it's so real. You prove to yourself, all right, with that knowledge, even if it's true, I'm going to do it anyway. Because what's the worst that happens? What is the worst that happens when you decide to face your fears? The very worst thing is your fears are actualized. They become true. That's the worst thing. Most of the time, when you face your fears, you actually find it was unfounded. And it just disappoints me every time I hear people say, I don't want to start keto because, and then they name some fear. And I'm like, start anyway. Keto on it anyway. Realize that you're going to see benefits. Just go ahead and have that in your mind that you're going to see benefits, that fear isn't real, and you go. So many of the things I talk about on these walk and talks in the morning, it's all right here. And that moment that you allow your brain to supersede your sensibility, that's when you're never going to succeed. That's when you're never going to move anywhere in your life. That's when you set goals for yourself, but your heart's not in it because you're allowing that fear to dominate every thought that you have. You must absolutely start facing those fears and face them with confidence. Face them with assuredness that you will overcome them. That the fear does not have power over you, but you have the power over your fear. And trust me, I struggled with this for many years. I don't speak from a place of not knowing what I'm talking about. I myself have dealt with this many years in my life. A lot of it was a trauma response from when I was a teenager. But you can cower in fear, freak out over all the reasons why you can't, or you can face your fears and remind yourself that not only can you will do it. You will overcome any obstacle, perceived or otherwise. I just imagine there's people that walk through life and there are real obstacles that come up. Not going to deny that. There are real things. But a lot of the things they see in their life, they actually perceive them to be there. It's the what if, it's the what's coming, that unknown in the future that they keep warning about in your mind. It keeps warning you, oh my gosh, you're not going to like it when, and the when may never come. So in the meantime, you're flailing because you're letting those fears totally grab you in a death grip and not let you go. If you live your life in fear in general, can I just tell you to let that go? Let go of whatever it is that makes you fearful. I don't live my life in fear in any way. And that's taken many years of working on my mind and my body and what drives me and who I am at the core as a man. I don't fear anything. I feel like the world is my oyster, and I get to dictate what I do in that world. And I feel like a lot of people let the world make you its oyster and dictates to you how you feel and what's going on. So I want to hear from you on this one, guys. Do you face your fears, or do you freak out over your fears? A lot of you guys chimed in yesterday. Just to piggyback on yesterday's, what's really holding you back was the topic yesterday. And so many of you said fear. Really holding you back from starting a health journey, for example. So many people said they were scared of one thing or another, or just had fear in general. I want to know, which one do you do? And facing your fears takes guts, I know. Facing those fears head on. We all fear the worst. But again, there's another fear. I would say if you go into it facing your fears, don't go into it with a fearful heart. Go into it with a resolute, I got this heart. Go into taking on those fears with the expectation that you're going to defeat them. It's all about mindset, guys. Putting your brain in the right course. And I get it. There's people, I don't understand those people, but there are people who like to stay in a state of fear always. And if that's you, again, I'm not stepping on your toes. I'm just saying you're allowing your body to be in a very unnatural state. It's unnatural to stay scared all of the time. Very unnatural. And yet there's people that happily stay in one crisis after the other, after the other. For some reason, they enjoy being in fear, that it defines them. I heard you guys. I was trying to get out of your way. No worries. Do you allow them to just dominate your life every day, those thoughts of being in fear? There are people like that. And it's sad to me. I don't want to see people live in fear. Fear is the cancer for your soul. Hear me out. Fear is the cancer for your soul. When cancer gets in the body, what do? Well, first of all, you biopsy it to make sure it is cancer. And then you undergo treatments, which could be chemotherapy, it could be drugs, could be a ketogenic diet, could be a many things to try to deal with that. Well, you need to look at fear in the same way. If fear is present, disease of the mind is not far behind. And you've got to extract that. You've got to get that crap out of you sooner than later, because the longer you let the fear fester, the more it can get into the crevices of every part of your being. These are those people I was just talking about that always live in fear. They always are guided in their own life by the things that scare them. And so when it comes to trying to do something about their health Oh, but what if, oh, I can't do, oh, and they have all these fears that if they simply faced it, facing your fears is the extraction of the cancer. Facing them. And better yet, when you face your fear and you're able to actually see that fear possibly coming up, and then you beat it anyway, look at what that does. Not only did you have a fear, and then it was actualized, but then you faced it, you overcame that obstacle, and now you're on the other side of it. There is no amount of anything in the world that could take that away from you. You will feel invincible at that point because the fear told you you had no power, but then you faced that fear and you confronted that fear and you got the fear square in the middle of your eyesight and you got it. That's so empowering, you guys. I'm hoping this is encouraging to you today because that really bugged me all day yesterday after I got done with the morning walk and what's really holding you back, and all these people said fear. I started ruminating on this topic of fear. If that's your reason for not starting a journey, you're the ones this message is for today. And I'm hoping you're taking it in the love and spirit that I'm trying to deliver it here today. But day 42 of my Staybatical to 50. Still on this 100-day journey, you guys. And loving it. We're coming up real soon at the halfway mark. Day 51 will be your day number 1 if you're joining me. So I'm doing 50 days of my own, kind of showing you all the things I'm doing. But then day 51 through day 100 of my journey, you guys will do your own 50-day journey that you do whatever you want that will challenge you. That's how I set this up. I'm not expecting you to do the same things as me because maybe the things I'm doing is way too advanced, or maybe the things I'm doing is way too easy to push you and challenge you. I want you to come up with your own customized challenge that will push you to the brink and then have you commit to 50 days of doing that. So get ready. That's coming next week. So real excited to get to that. But let's see what you guys have to say today. Bulletproof Coconut, as always, all caps, go Jimmy, exclamation point. Thank you for that. I always look forward to your greeting every morning. I still want to hear from you guys about this facing, not freaking over your fears. Good morning, Linda. Thank you for being here. Hello, Christina. Bulletproof Coconut says, face your fears until your fears fall to face you. Yes. Make fear your bitch. You know I'm right. Fear does not rule you. You get to determine what that fear does, not the other way around. I gotta tell you, it took a lot of mental work, psychological work, working through some of my past traumas and things that I've had to deal with in my life to get to this point. I was on a podcast yesterday morning with a really sweet lady in Finland. She has a podcast, and she asked me, because she's been watching these videos that I do in the mornings. She's like, where does that come from? Where do you get all of that confidence that you're going to accomplish what you're setting out to accomplish? I said, I'm not scared. I take on every challenge. And yes, I have some fears become actualized, but then I take them on and I don't allow that fear, actualized or otherwise, to determine how I live my life. I get to live my life. Not this dream world that I dream up in my head that tells me this is how it's supposed to be, this is how it's gonna be. I don't believe that. I know what's happening in my life, and I rule it. I get to rule my life. And yet, once again, there's a lot of people, they let those negative thoughts become what they think is their life. Well, I can't start on that keto diet because every diet I ever tried failed me. And so I'm just scared that I've done every diet and none has ever worked. And so therefore, that's why I can't go on the keto diet, because all the other diets have failed. That's horrible to me. That to me is a defeated person. That to me is someone who has allowed fear to get such a death grip on their life and they don't know how to wiggle loose. Don't live your life that way. I love that Bulletproof Coconut. Face your fears until your fears fall to face you. I love that. Lou says, if I feel any fear, I say I thrive in the face of adversity. We do thrive in the face of adversity. Look, adversity is when you find out who you really are. It's so easy to go through life and nothing bad ever happens. It's easy when you're facing the world and nothing pushes back. It's so easy. But quite frankly, we should be embracing those times when the adversity hits, because it's in that pressure cooker of life when it's pushing against you and you push back. As I gave the analogy the other day, when you go to the gym, you're not lifting 2-pound dumbbells. No, unless that's all you can do, but you're lifting heavy. You should be anyway. Lifting heavy weights. Why? Because you're trying to get that resistance. Because what happens when you do resistance training in the gym and you allow yourself to push up against things that are pushing hard against you, you get stronger physically. And you've got to imagine pushing up against the fears is the same thing except for your mental health. You're getting mentally stronger because of those things that come up. So I love that. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway is the definition of courage. Thank you for this video. It's one that is needed. Thank you. I like to bring up things that are passionate on my heart, but also things that I think other people might be thinking about. So thank you for that feedback, Lou. Appreciate that. Christina says, I very much live without fear at all. You're my kind of girl, Christina. I love it. No fear. It's so freeing. You get out of that constant stress state. There is no quivering in the body. You stay pretty chill. When life hits, you're like, all right, I kind of knew this was coming, but I'm not scared. We'll just get through it. We'll persevere through it. That's the way we're intended to handle fear when it arises and the stresses of life when they arise. I have learned to enjoy life so much more since I've gotten older. You know what? The older thing is real. I remember people say, well, when you get older, you'll understand why you don't need to be so uptight. I never really grasped that until I turned 40. And then it was like, oh, I really don't give a shit about anything anymore. And you do, you kind of get that into that mode. I have met a few people lately that are already in that mode in like their early 30s. I'm like, oh man, I would love to go back in my life to my 20s and 30s and say, dude, chill the F out. You're killing me. But yes, age certainly helps with this topic I'm talking about here today. Del Norte says, rational mind is to outthink your fear. Love it. Yeah, like think about it. If you stay reasoned and rational and don't allow your emotions to think for you, that's where the fear comes in. It's when you allow an emotional appeal to convince you of truth. When your rational thinking, clear thinking mind is the only thing that can really do that for you. So try to stay clear in your thinking. Don't be swayed by an appeal to some pulling at your heartstrings kind of thing. We all are susceptible to that if we allow ourselves. But it's not an inevitability. You really have control of that. I like that. That's good, Del Norte. Kelly says, I'm at work. I wanted to say good morning. I hope you have literally and talking the talk. Thank you, Kelly. Yes, I have grown to love this format of walking and talking in the mornings. Number one, I have a lot to say, as you guys have noticed. And my mama even made a comment. I called her yesterday. She said, how do you come up with all these different topics? And it's like interesting. I'm like, thanks, Mom. And she's like, no, I didn't mean that you're not interesting. It just, you seem to hit on so many different topics all the time. You don't really repeat topics. How you do that? I'm like, I just have a lot to say. So good old mama will keep you humble, right? So yes, thank you. And thank you for all your support. I got a lot of people that are supporting my journey, and I love that. I'm even considering trying to make sure that dog is tied up and not running after me, because I may have to start running. I think he's tied up. So I'm scared of dogs, so maybe I need to face that fear and just walk right at that dog and see what happens. No, I would shit my pants is what would happen. But Kelly, I was thinking after the 100 days is over, I may start a podcast where I'm doing my morning walk, talking to you guys, and call it the Walk and Talk Podcast with Jimmy Moore. And it just be about everything. Philosophy of life, mindset, whatever's on Jimmy's mind that day. So that would be cool. I've already got a bunch of these in the can with this sabbatical. Haley says, good evening from Australia. I know you say good eye, but how you say good night? Good evening. All right, guys, I am at my halfway point. So we're going to turn around right here. I'm hitting that right at the 30-minute mark. So this is way beyond where my halfway point was on day number 1. I mean, way beyond. I'm looking at my Oura Ring results and they show how far I walk. I think when I turn around there, it's about 3.7 miles by the time I get all the way back home. And so 3.7 miles, and it actually gives me how fast I'm walking in each of the miles. So that's really interesting. Mile 1 typically is a little slower because I'm just getting going and getting the blood moving in my legs. And mile 2 is actually my fastest. So that's when I'm talking to you guys. I've got a lot of adrenaline going, a lot of energy going through my body. And sorry, I'm waving at the neighbor holding her dog back. So, and so mile 2 is the usually the fastest mile. And then mile 3, not quite as slow as the first mile, but slower than the second mile. So I like that data. It's really good. And yesterday, I must have been boogieing in my body because it showed very high intensity of movement at various parts of the walk. So really cool to see all of that stuff in data form. It means I'm getting fitter. It means this is becoming more comfortable. It means these hills are challenging me, but I'm able to rise to the occasion with the challenge. Hello again. Not quite running yet. Yes, these uphills are a bitch. So let's see. Linda says that would be an awesome podcast, as did Haley. So yeah, I need another podcast like I need a hole in the head, but I'd be willing since I'm already making the content, it would be easy content for me to do and then just translate over into a podcast. So what do you guys think here? I'm on day 42 of my sabbatical to 50. Chugging along in this 100-day journey, guys. And still loving the things I'm doing. They are still challenging me. I will tell you that as I have progressed in this, I have noticed that after the walk, I go in the sauna, which I forgot to turn on. I just remembered sauna, so I guess I'm not going in the sauna right as soon as I get home now. But I find that my body really feels tired in the middle of the day. And I'm trying to see if it's related to the walking itself, because I was not feeling that early on, but now I am feeling that. It's just an odd feeling where I just suddenly get this feeling of tired. And I try not to nap a whole lot during the day. I do if I feel like my body just absolutely needs it. But I try not to mess up my sleep at night by not napping during the day. But lately I have needed to lie down. And yesterday I had that feeling a couple hours after my walk, and I'm like, ugh. I had a podcast at 11. I was on. So I've theorized that that's the body releasing things in my body fat stores that are causing that sleepiness. I don't know for sure, but it's certainly an inconvenient feeling to feel that way. But I pushed through it. Not fearful of it. I'm just facing it. And if I need to go lay down, I do lay down. It's not like I ignore that. And then when I sleep at night, this is another thing that I'm dealing with. When I go to sleep at night, I get to sleep sometimes later. But then I'm wide awake at, say, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And when I'm just laying there and nothing's happening, I get up, go down to my massage chair and try to chill the body. I do that for a couple of hours, and then I go back to sleep and get some more rest. So I'm having a lot of this segmented sleep right now. It's really fascinating. And again, I don't know if it's something related to what I'm doing. I'm not really seeing a correlation of the fasting days that I'm doing. So I'm fasting on the even days and eating animal-based on the odd days. And so I don't know if the fasting is impacting that in some way. It's all just fascinating to me to observe. Overall, I still feel good. Even with the segmented sleep, I still get decent sleep. It's just got a little gap in the middle of the night where I'm awake. And so, very strange. Mandy says, watching and listening from Central North Carolina while I eat a bowl of chopped pork butt for breakfast. Hey, North Carolina, I could drive up to North Carolina. Save me some. Yes. So what do you guys think about this topic today? When I brought up the what's really holding you back topic yesterday, I was shocked by how many people admitted it's fear, Jimmy. I'm too scared. This, that, and everything in between. So I want to know if you freak out about your fears, do they paralyze you? Tell me why. I want to get to the root of this. What exactly paralyzes you? What exactly freaks you out? Is it simply the what if? Is it simply what could happen? Or are there actual things that stand in your way? And even if there are actualized things that stand in your way, have you ever faced them in that? Have you ever came face to face and said, all right, I know I've got this challenge ahead of me. That if I start on the health journey, it's going to be hard because I've got this challenge. And let me tell you, 2 days before I started this challenge, day number 1 was September 1st. So 2 days before that, I actually was trying to test flip the tire to see how I could do. And what I discovered trying to test flip the tire was, oh crap, I threw my back out. And I did. The left hand lower back was killing me. And I could have very easily said, guys, I know I had high hopes for this sabbatical to 50, but I injured my back. And I was fearful that if I started, momentarily fearful, that if I started this journey of 100 days right off the bat with an injured lower back, that it would just get worse and worse and worse, and it would cause more damage. I had that as a fleeting thought. But then I said, well, if I have to, I will modify. So one of the things I modified was my original protocol was going to have me flip the tire on the odd days and then rest on the even days from flipping the tire. Well, I've just chosen not to flip the tire as my modification. I've done all the other things. And believe me, I still want to flip the tire, but that was a real fear. That was a very real fear early on when I started this journey, was I could hurt myself more. But did I let it stop me? No. I actually used that as, all right, that's a bump in this journey that I did not want from the very get-go. But it happened. And I started anyway. And even if I am not doing all the things that I intended to do, look what's happened. I've done all these other things, and I'm seeing results. I'm seeing progress. I'm getting stronger. By the way, the back is all the way better. I was at the chiropractor on Sunday, and they know what I'm doing there. And the lady said, "You flipping that tire yet?" I said, "Not yet, but I'm close. I'm trying to make sure my ankles aren't hurting as bad. They're getting better. Really, all the kind of chronic pain in my body is getting a lot better." And so I don't let that hold me back. Good morning, good morning. Beautiful days now. I love this weather. So what about you guys? I want to hear from you. So keep talking to me about this topic. Facing not fears. Dana says, I love it. I am one of them. So you really made me think. Well, good. I always seek to make people think. And I'm not always liked because I say things a little more direct to get you to think. And that's okay. I don't mind not being liked if what I say provokes some kind of reaction, good or bad, or provokes some kind of contemplation. I feel like I've done my job if I make you contemplate. Even if you hate what I said, if you're contemplating and you're thinking, like I've done what I'm supposed to do. I've done this talking thing for so long. I kind of know how to craft a message to at least let you think. Now, some people take offense to that and whatever. I can't control how you're going to react. I just want you to react, good or bad, because I have your best interest in mind every time when I share things. Kira says, I'm afraid to tell people my goals, like I think people will sabotage you. Well, of course they will. Kira, you know that's exactly what they'll do. And there's a little bit of a psychology there as to why they want to sabotage someone doing something for themselves. They feel guilty. They feel convicted. They feel like you're calling them out with your actions. They do. And so when you're doing something to better yourself and you have high goals for yourself, they go, well, damn, I don't have those goals for myself. I'm going to make her feel bad about that. So that doesn't surprise me that you have that. And look, there's no obligation that you share your goals with anybody. There's no law that says if you go on a journey, you have to say anything. In fact, in my book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, Dr. Fung and I specifically told people in the book, if you go on a fasting journey, whatever you do, don't tell people you're on a fasting journey, because they will try to convince you of things like you're starving yourself and, oh, you're going to lose all your muscle and all this negative stuff, and it's just going to sabotage your efforts. They don't understand what it is that you're doing. Oh, you've got an eating disorder. And so I'm all for, if you're on a journey, you have no obligation to tell anybody that you're on that journey. So that's not really a fear. That's a respect of your boundaries, Kira. You know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it. It's nobody else's business, right? So yes, guys, we are talking today in this day 42 of my Stay-Batical to 50 about a very important topic that came up after yesterday's morning walk. I asked the question yesterday, what's really holding you back? And a lot of people said fear. So today, I'm talking about fear and whether you freak out or do you face it. And if you freak out, what's the reasons why people freak out over fears? And then if you face it, you actually realize a lot of those fears are just a facade. They're not real. They're just perceptions in our mind that never really manifest. And yet they feel so real in the moment. Oh, but, okay. You need to kick those buts in the butt. Because you'll realize that most of them aren't real. But even if they do become real and become actualized, take them on. I am of the mindset that there is nothing in this world that will rule me. No government, no boss, no other human being, and most certainly no inanimate object like fear. Fear is so trumped up. Fear is this warfare of the mind. Fear is the opposite of confidence. And when you exude confidence, when you embrace the confidence, you allow it to become a part of your DNA of exactly who you are. Fear has no control over you at that point. That will help you face fears if you just don't acknowledge fear. The best way to handle someone that you don't want to be around is to ignore them. You just ignore them. They can whine and complain and make noise, bang a drum, all the things. And that's what fear is. It's that annoying person that you just don't want to be around. They're making a lot of noise. They're trying to provoke you. They're trying to get you to take action that you don't want to take. But then some people listen and they falter and they don't live out their life. But then that confidence is you going la 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 la, and you don't hear all that noise. You need to look at it in that way. Fear has no control over you that you yourself don't give it. Remember that. Fear has no control over you that you yourself don't give it. Fear is this powerless blob. And if you give it energy and you give it life, that energy will make that big blob start flailing around and moving around and becoming this perceived threat to you. But when you refuse to give it energy, you refuse to give it any attention at all, and you simply live and live confidently in what you know, that blob will never move. You can still see it from time to time. Little still shots will pop in your mind of fear, but then you remind yourself, that's not real. What's real is what I'm doing, living my life. What's real is what I want real to be, because it is what's in my mind, not what the fear wants to put in my mind. Little Jedi mind trick for you guys here today. Alice says, I usually don't mention my fasting to anyone, but my husband is so proud of me, he wants to tell everyone. Well, he can tell everyone, but he needs to be the one that takes on all the criticisms. You don't need to hear all that stuff. I'm glad that he's proud of you, and that's wonderful that you've got a support system like that, but he needs to make sure you're protected from those people that would say, oh my gosh, why are you starving yourself? Do you have an eating disorder? Because they will say all of those things. And look, I've done some very long fasts. I've done 3 21-day fasts. And you should hear people when they find out I'm doing this, because I am a public figure. They do see my Instagram page and different. Oh my gosh, I see you're on day 15 of a fast. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh my gosh, how could that be healthy? It's extremely healthy. Oh my God. And they just don't understand. For the record, I don't go that long anymore. I cap out my extended fasts at about 5 to 7 days, because by that point you've gotten the full autophagy benefits, cleaning up of all the little dead proteins in your body. And you're not so far in that you might start losing muscle, which that takes a long time. As long as you've got stored body fat, it's not going to touch your muscle. But the biggest reason that I'm a fan of 5 to 7 days is you can do it more often. If you go 21 days, you really need to wait a few months before you do another one. But if you do 5 to 7 days, you could ostensibly go again next month. And then the next month after that, if you wanted to. It's all available to you. A 5 to 7 day fast is a sweet spot, I think, of extended fasting. I know people that do 48 to 72 hour fasting. That's great. But the way I see it is, if you get through 72 hours of fasting, you're just now getting to the part where it's no longer painful. It's so painful in like hour 25 through like 55. It can be a little bit painful in those times where the hunger and everything really ramps up and it's intense. But if you push through that and get through 72 hours, go to 4, 5, 6, 7, and you're off to the races in your fast. And you enjoy it a lot better in those later parts of that 5 to 7 days than you do in the earlier parts. I think I just went through a cobweb. I have a sick feeling. Bulletproof Coconut. I embrace telling people I'm fasting. I have no shame. Well, that's good. You have a strong mental fortitude that a lot of people simply do not. People shouldn't fall victim to their own thoughts. Easier said than done, but it's important. That's the whole point of what I'm saying here today. So thank you for encapsulating that, Bulletproof Coconut. We don't need to be our own worst enemies. Fear is your mind making yourself your own worst enemy. If you let your mind supersede all your sensibilities, that's on you. You've got to rein that in. It's why I harp on mindset stuff so much, you guys, is I feel like a lot of the things we deal with in our life, like being fearful of starting a change, a journey, it's all self-induced conflict within our minds that we allow. Like, imagine this. You're in your house and then you see somebody breaking into your house. What do? A rational thinking person would kick that person out of your house, maybe pull out a shotgun and go, chick. You sure you want to keep coming in? And deter them and get them out of your house. But what if somebody broke into your home and you're like, oh, hey, Ralph. And you just wave to them and they're sitting there stealing all your stuff. They're sitting there wreaking havoc. And you do nothing. That's exactly what we're doing when we allow fear and negative thoughts to come into our mind. You're allowing the robber to come in and just ransack the place. I'm sorry, no. If you're trying to bring me down, if you're not trying to bring some benefit to my life, you are not allowed in this head. And it's something I've worked on hard, and I want to implore all of you, work on this yourself. Remind yourselves, you got to get rid of those robbers of your joy, of your confidence, of the fiber of who you are as a person. You've got to get rid of those things. And I realize it is hard, as Bulletproof Coconut's saying. It is very hard not to fall victim to your own thoughts, but you've got to rein in the thoughts. If you start having negative thoughts, maybe apply some meditation. That will calm the brain. And then on top of that, have positive affirmations. Read your Bible if you're a Christian. Like, there's all kinds of things you can do to put your mind into a better place. But what happens is that robber gets in there and he starts ransacking the place, and you start feeling the effects of that. And you're like, why do I not feel great? Why is this fear so intense? It's because you've allowed it. Don't allow it anymore. Your life will be better if you get rid of that stuff. Del Norte says the herd mentality is to compare. Oh yeah. Well, Susie went on her plan and she didn't do so well. I won't do well. Or she did well. Well, she did well, but that's her. She's not me, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that comparison game will definitely lead people down bad tracks mentally. It's why on my journey, I haven't compared my journey to anybody's. I'm not interested in that, because this journey is for Jimmy Moore. This journey isn't for anybody else. And somebody else's journey is not the journey I'm doing. So why would I compare my journey to their journey? You know what I'm saying? Just none of that makes sense to me. And I can almost guarantee there's nobody else doing what I'm doing right now. So even if there were, I still wouldn't compare to that person, because we're not the same. We're not in the same boat, the same position, the same body, the same obstacles. We're going to have our own unique challenges. So let yourself be your motivational challenge, not your defeating challenge. Try telling people that you drink salt. That really triggers them. So Bulletproof Coconut, I do drink salt, electrolytes specifically, which is sodium, magnesium, potassium, daily. I probably have 5 to 6 big servings of that a day. That's been very helpful on this journey, especially after the walks. Very thirsty. So it helps to replenish the electrolytes that I've lost. But yes, that would freak people out. Alice says, my husband does help explain to people. Yeah, but that's a problem about her fasting. That's a problem too, because he can explain until he's blue in the face, and people are going to have their views of what fasting is, regardless of the explanation. It's just better not to broach it at all. Not to even bring it up, because it's too much for some people who don't have a health mindset to even understand. He's probably trying to explain it to people that drink soda, eat fast food, eat junk food, And they're thinking through that prism of having to constantly eat. Fasting would be torture for them, not realizing that once you remove those foods, start eating better, that your body almost spontaneously just wants to fast. So it's like you're talking another language to them that they don't quite understand yet. That's why it's best to leave it alone. He's done several fasts with me. This has reversed his diabetes. That is excellent. Yes. Removing carbohydrates, especially the refined ones from your diet, and then adding in periods of fasting with real whole foods when you are eating. It's a game changer for a lot of people. Put your body into a good state. Oh, I meant to tell you. So up here at this school in the mornings, before I turn on the camera, I have to circumnavigate all the traffic and everything. So they got 2 cops stationed at both of the openings for the school, directing traffic. So I have to cross the road, then come down the sidewalk a little, and then I have another road that both cops have to help me get across because it's just so heavy. Well, the second cop the other day says, "Do you walk every day?" I said, "Yeah, most days." He said, "How far you walk?" I said, "It's over 3, almost 4 miles. He said, "Keep it up." And it was really cool to have someone that doesn't even know me, but they see me putting in the effort, trying to encourage me. I think he understood that a health journey is difficult, but you need those cheerleaders along the way. Definitely helps. Sandra says the fear of failure, because it was no good to make a mistake in my family. Fight this perfectionist tendency daily. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Yes. There were a lot of people that grew up in households that failure was not an option. My best friend, Brittany, who is sometimes on here in the morning. I don't see her here today. I think she's trying to sleep in and get some rest today, but she has said on our podcast, the One Step Deeper podcast, airs on Mondays. She has said many times that when she was a kid, she would get all 100s on her report card and 197. And she would be punished for the 97 because it wasn't a 100. Now, you want to talk about giving a kid a complex. So today, she's got a massive perfectionist conflict in her mind, Sandra, just like you, because it is a tendency. I've helped her break it a little bit. She's not quite as worried. She used to get so upset with herself when she would flub over words on our podcast. And I'm like, I've done this over 15 years. I still flub on my words. So you make a joke about it and you move on. But in her mind, it was so devastating because it wasn't perfect. And so fear of failure, of not being good enough. Yeah, I get that. But I would just say that you need to live in your confidence and live in the, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. I have a greater purpose in mind. And you defeat that perfectionism. It's tough. It's really tough. I get it. Keep working on it, Sandra. I think you're going to get there. Del Norte, thanks for the motivation. No fear. No fear at all. Fear is the cancer of your brain. I want you to ruminate on that. When you have fear, you're allowing cancer to enter your mental state. Not a literal cancer, but a mental cancer, which will have just as devastating effects as a physical one if you allow it to foster and fester. And the longer it stays in your mind, the more you will see it spread. And it will just become a part of your life. Like we were talking about earlier, there are people who live in such fear, they don't know how to live in any other way except for fear. And so, big road I got to cross. Hang tight. A lot of traffic this time of day. They don't know how to live in any other way except in that constant fear. And it's a sad place to be. If that's where you stay in your mind, is in that state of fear constantly. I couldn't do it. If I stayed in that much fear, I would have so much weight gain from the cortisol. I would just be a nervous wreck. My muscles would be all achy all the time. I'd have chronic pain. I don't want all that. Getting rid of the fear will let you feel what your life is really like. I think so many people live so much in their fear on a daily basis, and they don't know any other way. And you just want to scream at them, just stop being scared. Stop being fearful. Live your life. Go be what you want to be, and stop letting those fears hold you back. You want to say all those things, but not everybody's ready for that message. They're not. Charnail Star says, good morning, you are an inspiration. Thank you. I try to share from my life and my life experiences and the wisdom I've gained through those things with you guys. I was joking with my mom yesterday. I said, I've talked about this diet and health thing for so long. There's only so many ways you can tell people to eat real food and cut down on the crap in your diet. I said, I feel like my calling now is to be more inspirational, motivational, life advice kind of things. And I enjoy it. I love talking this stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoy it too. You keep coming back every day, so I think you do enjoy it. So guys, I'm coming up to the end of my walk. Day 42 of my Staybatical to 50. 100 days, you guys. Still going along strong. I'm excited to let you guys join in next week. We will talk about that very soon. But if you missed any of the past videos, they're all embedded on my Instagram page in the IGTV. But you can see them all in one place on my website, livinlavitalowcarb.com/Staybatical. They're all right there, and you can watch any of them. I don't label them by the day that I'm on. I just happen to be on day 42 for this one. I just do a topic, and it's always topics that make you think, things that are on my mind, maybe things I'm going through, or things that I think you might be going through. So go check that out, you guys. Thank you, Charnail Star, for getting a badge. Appreciate that. And as always, when I'm on live, if you want to buy a badge, you guys, there is a little thing down there. That's something Instagram does for people that go live. And you guys know I do a lot of lives. I go live when I'm walking in the morning, so that's one. And then I go live when I do my podcast recordings, which, by the way, at 1 p.m. or is it 1 p.m.? Might be. No, it's at 11 a.m. today. Sorry, 11 a.m. today. I will be interviewing a gentleman who got the Black Plague, 9-1 Divock, and he got really sick. He had a lot of comorbidities, but he got really sick, but then he overcame it, and now he's got the antibodies for this big bad 9-1 Divock out there, and he's fine now. We're going to talk about what that journey was like. He was down for the count for a few weeks. He's the right-hand man in my business, does a lot of the graphics and things with my business. And so should be a fun conversation that's coming up here in a few hours. Yeah, 11 a.m. is when that is. So here in a couple of hours, we'll see you there. But thank you so much for watching today. Thank you, Marty. Have a great day yourself, sir. And we'll see you guys again real soon. Bye, everyone.